The Bible is Black History, a biblical recap.
We have covered a number of topics, and I just want to talk about them for a minute here. And I'm sorry if I go on too long with this one, but we've talked about a number of things. What's important to know when you're studying the Bible is that you read it like any other book. I think because we've had ministers and preachers or whatever they're called up in the pulpit, and I grew up Baptist, so I understand how this is. We've had them up in the pulpit telling us what this book says, and we've not really gotten down to the nitty-gritty of this book for ourselves. That minister would give us a passage to read, and we'd go and we'd study that passage, and he'd come back and we'd talk about it, and he'd clear, and the last word was his or hers, or whoever your minister was. So that's kind of the way that goes in most churches. To understand the Bible, it's important just to understand whom it is written to. So having said that, the Old Testament is written to Jews, and the Jews are black people. Okay, the Hebrews were black. Everything in this Bible is our life. Everything in this Bible fits with us. And not only that, we've already talked about the fact that DNA proves that as well. So a lot of people want to say, well, history doesn't document that. Well, no, because guess whose history we're living in? Guess who wrote the history that we're in? The history that you're comparing this book to is the history of the Caucasian. And they have manipulated this book to resemble their history. And it still isn't a perfect fit for their history. That's what we have to look at. So Nick Cannon can't say it, but I can say it. This book is black people. It's all black people. There are no white people. Well, let me put it this way. They're in there because there's evil and chaos. So yes, they're in here. But they are not the main characters of this book. They are not the audience. This book is not written to them. Now, what was the point of this book? Why did God leave us this book? This book was written to a nation of people of whom God left them. He says, in my absence, I'm going to leave you. This is what's going to happen. So we're the ones who had a God to leave them. They still have their God. They're still running around here pleasing their God and killing us. That's what makes their God happy. They're pleasing him and doing everything that he wants them to do. And why would God leave us this book? Why would God write us this book, and why would he leave us? That's another question. Well, he tells us in this book over and over again, do not serve the gods of the other people. Do not do what they do. Do not be who they are. I create you to be better. You're different. You are a higher being than they are. You're not equally yoked. He tells us all of these things, and he also tells us, I created you for my glory. And he says to us, well, you are not to worship those gods. Don't bow down to them. But we just love these white people so much that we wanted to be around them and be with them. And, all of these different creations, we just love them and want to be a part of them. And for that reason, we were worshiping their God instead of our own God. And God said, okay, I'm going to turn you over to them. I'm going to turn you over to their God. And you'll see what happens. Because he tells us all through this book, if you let your daughter if you let your sons marry their daughters and your daughter marry their son, they are going to take you away from me. I am going to be without a creation. They're going to take you away from me. And he kept rerouting us, and we kept going back to them and going back to them. And now we end up in a situation where he turned us over to them. Okay, take them and let them experience what they will have with you. And it's been horrible. So we've been given this one God theory by the world, and they want us to believe, or has led us to believe, that there's only one God who created everyone and made them supreme over us and put us out here on the earth to serve them and to fight it out. That's not what's going on here. No, they have their God. And when they speak of God, they're speaking of their God. Even though they carry the Bible and they think it's theirs, and their God has allowed them to think that, their God didn't leave them a book. I hear people say all the time, that's the white man's book. You give the white man too much credit. Their God didn't leave them a book. In fact, their God didn't leave them. Their God is still with them. But all through the Bible, there are gods taking us away from our God, and then our God will take us back. And they'll capture us from our God, and our God will take us. So it's really a battle between the gods more than it is a battle between us and the other species up on the earth. I was going to say races, which they are different races, but that's how we see them. They're actually different species. And that's something else we need to talk about, because we did not all start out as humans. They were a completely different species. There were several species up on the earth. Even though I touched on the Neanderthal type creature, that monkey type creature, there were other species as well, but that's the one that's giving us all the grief. That's the one that we are under and serving. And so that's why I specifically focused on that one. But there were several creations up on the earth, and there were several gods overseeing these creations. So they have become human through their mating, with human beings, so they have become human to some degree. Now, with that mating, we were obviously the superior being because they became us. We did not become them. So if they were the higher DNA, then we would have succumbed to who they were. But that did not happen. They became who we were. And the whole point of them running around saying that they're superior is really a battle between the gods. That's their God fighting with our God. We've never said they were not, but my 60 years on earth have been going on and on about how superior they are. And so it's not like that black people have been fighting. No, we're the superior ones. That hasn't happened. But that's their God with our God. Our God has said that we are superior. And we are superior because he's superior. He is the most high God. And how can he be the most high God unless there are lesser gods? Now, the last thing I'd like to talk about is what's going on right now. Because we have the coronavirus and we have this crazy political scene that's playing out. But I'd just like to say embrace it, because we have served our 400 years. We're into this thing, 400 plus years of being of service to these people. And our freedom is supposed to come now. So if we study the book of Exodus and all of these plagues that are playing out, God says these are the things that's going to happen before I come back for you. So that's how I see this. I see this as those plagues that are playing out. And if that's the case, they only get worse. They don't get any better. They only increase. And it may seem as if they're harder on us, but we have a God. We have a God that, as he said, don't fear the man that can kill the body, fear the man that can kill the soul. We have a God that can caress our souls, and he puts us in different bodies and brings us back again. That's a whole nother story. But so these are the things that we just need to do. Read the book of Exodus and you'll understand how these plagues are going to play out. And even though they seem detrimental to us, they are in the end going to be most detrimental to those that oppose us. So we'll come out better in the end. I know it's hard to believe now, but we do. And so embrace them. It's what's going to happen. If we could do anything about any of this, people always say, I am not my ancestors, or we are not our ancestors. Young people love to say that today because they think their ancestors didn't fight. Their ancestors fought as hard as they're fighting. And if we could have done anything about this and changed this, we would have. That's why I can't help but to believe this book and believe in this God, because if we could have done anything about this, we would have done it. I know I've fought like hell and then nothing has changed. So what else do I have? So yeah, I believe this. It plays out exactly like it says it's going to in the book. There's a passage in the book that says, when they realize that I have written their story in advance, then they will know that I am their God. And he has written our story in advance. He has. So what we didn't understand before, we should certainly understand now, and realize that these other gods have no love for us, because look what they've done to us while we've been under their care. If you want to call it care, while we've been under their possession, they have really abused us, and our God warned us that it was going to happen. But anyway, I know this sounds like some wow movie or some story. It sounds like something that I have on the screen here. Any one of these movies, could have been this book, because this is what the writer has taken their information from. Look these up, Google them, whatever, and you'll find that all of these movies are biblically based, because the white man knows what's going on in this book. They know. There was a time when we knew, but all of that has been lost to us while we've been here in their land of slavery. But they have taken this information, made movies out of it, made money off of it, and then told us that this book was about something completely different. No, it's about the gods. And they always want to say, well, the Greeks always thought there was, they always had these different gods. Greeks didn't know anything. They were cave monkeys. Only thing they knew is what the Hebrews had told them. what information we had given them. And again, if we had not been whoring after them and their gods, we never would have shared this information. But we were, and here we are. So many gods, many creations, and that's the battle upon this one earth. And like we studied before, there was a time when we had separate lands, but now we're all on one land. So again, I'll stop right there. Do write me if you can, and let me know if you're interested in a Bible study. We can do that. Contact me and let me know if you're interested, and if we can get all of our schedules together, or some of us, and do that. That would be great fun. Let me know. Again, thanks for watching. Bye bye.